What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Imperfect Action Show. I'm Stizzle Speaks. You know, this is the show we talk to 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs about their journey in their business, some challenges, some pitfalls, and how to really just max out, take imperfect action to get to the next level. And I'm super excited because today we're talking to Lisa, and we're going to get into this conversation. And I have her coming on today to talk to you guys about 3 underrated ways to create advantage in your business, right? Because we are looking at imperfect action to get to the highest in the next level. And there's some secrets and tips that people don't know because they haven't been through it. So I'm excited for Lisa to come on, drop the gems for us, and really get us aligned this year in our businesses. So y'all, help me welcome Lisa to the show.
Hey, Imperfect Action. Thank you so much for having me. How are you today, Stizzo?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm perfect.
Yes. Happy Monday. It's the start of the week. We get into it. So tell us a little bit. Give us your background. Tell us who's Lisa.
Yeah, so I am a plant-based health and business coach. As a health coach, I specialize in taking a whole food plant-based approach to combating chronic lifestyle disease. And as a business coach, I actually help plant-based vegans package their lifestyle into a health coaching business. So that's what I've graduated to. So I do less of the health coaching these days, and I do more of the business coaching. I have a successful plant-based coaching program, and there were so many individuals who were adopting this lifestyle and decided they wanted to coach to it too because it's so life-changing. And so I decided to take lead on that and help those individuals who are now living the lifestyle to turn it into a career if they so desire.
I love that. So talk to me about the beginning of the journey, like when you started out actually being a plant-based coach and teaching people how to have a healthier lifestyle. And what was the pivot moment for you when you identify like this, you could turn up the dial and take it to another level and get into coaching others how to be successful like you are?
Yeah, so it started off just with a mission. Everything for me has been mission driven. So it's all about recognizing for me the inequities in Western medicine for people of color. And so I started my company, the Black Health Academy, over 5 years ago, back in 2017. And it was specifically to address the disproportionate number of individuals in communities of color who are combating things like obesity, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, high cholesterol, kidney failure, autoimmune, different types of cancer. And through my studies, I learned that a whole food plant-based protocol is the most effective, especially to combat these common lifestyle diseases like heart disease and diabetes. And so I started to study it more, became certified in plant-based nutrition, started living the lifestyle myself. And at the time I was a personal trainer. So I retired from being a personal trainer and decided to become a full-time nutritionist and deep dived into this. And I absolutely love it. And the decision to become a business coach just happened organically from working with hundreds of students over the years, helping them to adopt a more plant-focused protocol, and a great percentage of them saying, I want to do what you're doing, Lisa. I want to coach this. I want to teach it. I have family members. I have church members. I have a community. I have coworkers who are all battling these conditions. How can I teach them how to live this lifestyle? What do I need to know from a scientific standpoint, from a coaching standpoint? And so in 2021, the Plant Protocol was born. And the Plant Protocol is actually the first plant-based coaching certification to be founded by a person of color. So I'm happy to say here, one day before the last day of Black History Month, that we have made Black history with this plant-based coaching certification. So Stizzo, it is just an amazing, amazing journey to wake up every day and do what you love.
I love that. And you literally took the words that were getting ready to come out of my mouth beforehand, because I was going to say, you can see and you can feel the energy behind your passion with what you do. And I think that is so critical and so important, especially for entrepreneurs, because if you can't get to that point of loving it, then it's getting back to the point of like, how do I reframe what it is that I really want to do? How do I think about this from scratch, right? And I did a video yesterday about new entrepreneurs and how we get into temperature times where it's like, I don't like doing this task. It doesn't feel good. But once you get to a place where you can then outsource the things that you're not great at and really love what it is that you're great at, it gets better. It gets better. And you can see that in your journey. Like, you really love what you do. And I think that's commendable for sure. And talk to me about, like, what's the common, and we're going to get into these 3 ways, y'all, so make sure you stay here. What's the common denominator in terms of kind of the health challenges that you've seen in our community when you're going through this process of not only teaching as a coach, but bringing on new coaches. Like, what's the problems that really need to be solved within our community when it comes to better health?
Yeah, limiting beliefs, very easy. So
Mm,
the common denominator across the board, regardless of what somebody is battling, regardless of what their health goals are, typically what I've noticed is the thing that's prolonging us arriving at that health goal are limiting beliefs. And I'll give you the most common limiting belief that I personally see in the Black community, which is this runs in my family. And so
mm,
because this runs in my family, it disempowers us if we have that belief to think, hey, my genetics are responsible for this weight. My genetics are responsible for this diagnosis, and therefore there's not much I can do about it. And I'm telling you, Stizzo, like 90% of the time that is untrue. Do genetics matter? 100% they play a role, but not as big a role that we give them credit for. And so oftentimes, if we don't think that we can do anything about our circumstance, we just surrender to it and we allow ourselves to succumb to a premature death or premature disability. And that breaks my heart personally. So I think limiting beliefs around disempowering thoughts are a common underlying theme that I've seen that's preventing us from living our most optimal and best selves.
yes, and that's good because limited beliefs show up in no matter what business you're in, like you said earlier. And it's one of those things that we have to challenge ourselves with every single day to to undo the years of what we've always known, right? And I think that's what you talk about, going back to it's my genetics, it runs in my family. Like, we've heard that so many times. I know I personally have, or someone, if you have a friend who happens to be a little bit overweight and not where they should be, and you look at their family, it's like the cousin, sister, brother kind of have a similar profile, and they're like, well, that it runs in my family. Big boned. I heard that a lot. It runs in my family. And it's like, it's time for us to take ownership of the thoughts that we have to max out on where we could be and the potential that we have. And talking about maxing out, there's a way, and you've adopted 3 creative ways to actually max out in your business. So
Mhm,
going into being a business coach
mhm,
and saying, okay, now I know I have more to give. I'm empowered with having the knowledge, right, and the skill set, because you did the work. You got the nutritional side of it down. You got the coaching side of it down. Now I want to really identify, how do I take it up a notch? How do I take advantage in a creative way in building my business? So let's get right into some of these ways that are so underrated that people don't know about. Y'all gonna get here for the first time on the Imperfect Action Show from Lisa today. So let's start with the first creative way.
Yes. So the first most underrated way to create competitive advantage in your business is with consistency. But there are 3 specific areas that you want to be extremely consistent in. The
Uh-huh.
first is you must be consistent in your offer. What I see sometimes, especially with newer businesses, is if we're not getting the sales right away, if we're not getting the attention, if we're not getting the shares or the acknowledgement, then we are constantly changing what we're offering. You have to be consistent in your offer. For example, my first offer, Farm to Table Plant Based Coaching Program, is 6 years old this year. I didn't introduce my second offer until a year and a half ago, which is the Plant Protocol, right? And so we have to be more consistent with selling what we're selling, right? So people won't be confused about what it is we do. So consistency is so underrated. The second way you want to be consistent is with your presence, meaning when is the last time we saw you or heard from you, right? If you have a business, you have to be consistently showing up in your marketplace, in your sector. We have to stop being inconsistent with creating content. We have to stop being inconsistent with our own podcast. One episode now, another one not for another 2 months. We have to stop being inconsistent with what we're producing in the business so that our brand is recognizable in the marketplace. Like, I know for a fact in my ecosystem, when people think about plant-based nutrition, they think about the Black Health Academy, they think about Farm to Table, they think about the Plant Protocol, and they trust me because they've been consistently seeing me selling these things and showing up and talking about these things for years. The third and final way you want to be consistent is with your messaging. This is so key. Sometimes, if we are not full believers in what we're saying, we have a tendency to edit our message based on what maybe other people are saying in our marketplace. And we make fear based decisions. And I'll give you a short example of this. One of the things that I preach all the time that I don't believe in, that most people believe in, is moderation, right? So
Mm.
most people will say, to give themselves permission to eat some crap, Stizzo, they'll say, everything in moderation, everything in
Me.
moderation. You, okay, guilty. So, but as a coach, as a health coach, I personally don't believe in everything in moderation approach, especially if you are combating a chronic health challenge. So I believe moderation is a privilege that should be reserved for those of us who have done the work to arrive at optimal health. But what most people treat moderation is as a right. Like, yeah, I'm overweight. Yeah, I'm on medication. Yeah, I don't feel good. Yeah, I'm low energy. Yeah, I have all these health issues, but I still deserve to eat anything I want in moderation. And that is such BS. And so people hear me preaching an anti-moderation message constantly and over. So I'm consistent in my messaging, regardless of what the masses are saying. There are plenty other health coaches, popular programs that believe in allowing people to have a little bit of the junk as long as they do good most of the time. And I don't believe in that. And so you want to make sure you have consistency in your messaging as well. Those three things, consistency in your offer, in your presence, and in your messaging, will really give you a competitive advantage.
I love that. And that was like bing, 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 you got it, boom. A nice little bow on it. I want to unpack that a little bit because consistency is so key. And it's one of the challenges that some entrepreneurs really have. And I can say I was in that space because I wear many hats. I'm very talented in many different areas. And I'm like, ooh, but I like this. Ooh, but I like that. Ooh, and I want to do this. And so going back to how you said, farm to table, right? Farm to table, y'all. Did you hear that? 5 years before she started a new program. So talk to me a little bit about that because one is super commendable that you stuck it through something for 5 years because I'm pretty sure in the beginning you went through those challenges of is this the right thing? Maybe you didn't, so I should ask you. But did you go through those challenges of is this the right thing? Maybe it's not. I'm not getting the traction. Let me step back. Like what was the beginning phase for you and what allowed you to stay so consistent to stick with this one thing for 5 years before your next project?
Yeah, no, yeah, just like anyone else, especially if you're creating something from scratch, right? There it definitely had moments of doubt. I definitely had moments of hesitancy. And but I think what I questioned is the attractiveness of the offer, but not the offer itself. So I never considered throwing the
Hold on,
whole
hold on.
offer.
Wait, go back. Say that. Wait. We're not gonna skip over that, Jim Lisa. Go back. Say that again, because the people might have not they missed it. Say it again.
Yeah, what I called into question more than anything was the attractiveness of the offer, but not the offer itself.
Listen, on a Monday morning sermon, that's what we needed. If y'all did not catch that, I need you to rewind this episode after and grab that snippet because that's so key. I'm
Yes.
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, because kind of what you said about like I'm not getting the traction. Where's the sales? Where's the interest? People aren't, clicking the link, And what we tend to do if those things aren't happening is we throw the whole thing away. But the harder thing, but the more mature thing to do is to take a hard look at your offer and dissect it and see what do I need to change to make this more attractive to my target person, right? But what we do is like, oh, they're not buying this. I'm just gonna go sell t-shirts now, or I'm gonna just be a health coach in general instead of being a plant-based health coach. Like we want to change everything as opposed to doing the hard work and looking at the data. Like, you know what? Actually, I did have, 10 people express interest in buying, but they didn't sell. So maybe I'm not good at sales. Maybe I need to do the work at sales versus thinking what I'm offering is trash. And that kind of brings us when you say, like, what gave me the consistency or what gave me the energetic capacity to stick with it for 5 years? I'm gonna tell you exactly what that is if you're ready for number two.
Ready.
Okay. All
I
right.
was ready since like 5-10 minutes ago because you got it, Lisa. I'm here. I'm locked in.
Okay, so here is this is the gem right here, all right? The second way you create competitive advantage in your business is by being mission driven instead of motive driven.
Mm.
Not mission driven instead of motive driven. I'm sorry. The word I want to use instead of motive is milestone. So you want to be mission driven instead of milestone driven. That language makes more sense. Let me give you an example. So my personal mission, Stizzo, is to extend the healthy life expectancy of Black people on this planet. We have one of the lowest life expectancies when compared to other demographics, right? And so if they're dying at, 76, we're dying at 72.
Mm.
And so my personal mission is to extend the life expectancy, the healthy life expectancy of people of color. Now, my mission is that. However, sometimes in business, what we create instead is milestones where we might say, okay, it's the top of 2023. I want to generate $500,000 in my business this year. What does that have to do with the mission?
Right.
So sometimes we create milestones that are tied to ego that have nothing to do with the mission.
Mm.
Now, if generating 500,000, a million, 3 million this year makes sense for the mission, meaning you are able to articulate how you intend to use the excess that you're asking for, right? So
Mhm.
what kept me steadfast on promoting and constantly refining and making farm to table better, I was mission driven. If I was only trying to get the money or up the bag or grow my company for my ego, then it would be so easy to throw out the offer and wait until I get an offer that people easily buy. But if my mission is to extend the healthy life expectancy of people of color, and I believe that a plant-based approach to diet and lifestyle is going to do that, I don't throw away the offer.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? So the
Perfect sense.
the way to improve competitive advantage in business, number two, is being mission driven instead of milestone driven. Because what happens after you hit the 500K this year in business? Like, are we closer to extending the healthy life expectancy for people? So what I've done, instead of setting revenue goals each year, I set service goals.
Right.
How many people do we want to service today? How many diagnoses of type 2 diabetes do we want to put in remission this year? How many medications, how many people do we want to help get off of medications this year? Because those milestones help drive the mission forward. Me
Right.
just saying how much the company is valued at, or how much our revenue we brought in, does not speak back to the mission. And so every decision I make or every opportunity that I say yes to, the first thing that comes in my mind is this aligned with my mission to be in service to marginalized communities?
Mm.
Not, is this in service to my ego or to myself? And so that is what was able to keep me steadfast for those 5+ years.
I love it. I love it. And Ty said, I'm adopting that. That's my new affirmation. Be mission driven, not milestone driven. And that's good. And I think for sure that's a moment for new entrepreneurs to sit on, especially if you're coming from, let's say, a corporate position or working in the workforce. Because I'll give you an example that this affirmation, I'm gonna call it affirmation now, has brought me back to, and it put the pieces together. I was working for a makeup company at the time,
Mhm.
and I remember getting this specific door to its first 2 million, right? And so I got a phone call from my direct report at the time, who was the field exec, and I remember her first comment to me was, what are we going to do to hit 3? And for me, because I was in leadership, it was my store, it was my baby. My mission was to create more opportunities for customer service to be excellent. My mission was to have exceptional, uh, basically, employees working under the umbrella of the store. My mission was to make sure I was known as the forefront of makeup authority and wanted people to visit my location versus any other. I was taken aback. I was like, for me, it wasn't about hitting the $2 million milestone, right? That was great. I liked the accolade, but my mission was different. And so, if you're a new entrepreneur, you're going into the business, adopt that mindset that the milestone will come if the mission is consistent. Oh, that was good, Lisa.
So that was a great example. And to your point, to be mission driven, you got to have one. Listen, people, The only reason to start a business is to solve a problem. If
Mm-hmm.
you don't start a business to increase your own personal net worth, you don't start a business to increase your own bank. Those are perks of the job. Don't get me wrong. But like we here for the bag. But
Right.
the only reason to start a business is to solve a problem. So what problem have you identified in the world that like grinds your gears, causes you to lose sleep at night? Like what problem do you want to solve? Attach to the mission, detach from the ego, and think it will change the game.
Mm. It already changed for me. I was like, oh, yes, I love that. But that was a perfect example. When you said it, I was like, oh, that's a time in my life where it happened. And then you just haphazardly adopt that mentality because that's what you're used to coming out of the workforce. So, like new entrepreneurs, if you're in a 9 to 5 right now, you ready to pivot, just hold on to the mission because the mission is what's going to drive you. Sure. Listen, I'm ready for number 3.
Let's get
I'm
it.
like, whoa, can it get? It could get better. Come on
Okay, it's time to go up. Listen, listen, listen. And this is going to be tough for a lot of people, especially new business owners, people just starting out. The third way that you can increase your competitive advantage in your business, guys, is by simplifying your business model and only solving one problem for one segment of the population. And to even simplify this even more, we have to go from being generalist to specialist.
now.
I cannot overstate this. And let me give you again a basic example, right? In my industry, and like the health coaching industry, it can be considered saturated. That's the term a lot of business people like to use when they feel like they can't stand out, right? It's my market is super saturated.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. But the reason you feel it's saturated is because you haven't specialized. You're just a generalist. So if I identify as just a general health coach and they say, well, what do you do? What I just help people get healthy and live their best lives. It's really fluff, frou frou. Like, but because I'm helping everyone or saying that I want to help everyone, then I'm really serving no one. Now, let's get more specific. Let's solve one problem for one person. Well, I am a plant based health coach or plant based business coach, and I help plant based vegans package their passion and their lifestyle into a specialized health coaching business. What does that mean? That means I am intentionally excluding people from working for me. In order to create competitive advantage in your business, you want to make people qualified to work with you. So
Mm.
stop trying to be a generalist and serve everybody and prioritize being a specialist. I do this one thing for this one person. So that means if you are a health coach and you recommend an animal based diet to your clients, I actually can't work with you. Right? I can't help you with your health coaching business because I help plant-based vegans start a plant-based coaching company. And so that specialization, that niching down really gives you more opportunities, but most people are afraid to do so because they think they're excluding so many people that they're not going to get business and that there's not enough of those people in the world. Honey, the billions of people on the planet, I can guarantee you the bag is waiting on you when you specialize. When you stop being a generalist, you can actually talk to more people by being more specific.
100%.
Yeah.
That's good. If it wasn't good, it was great. Woo! And to that point, to simplify it even more so, is like Nordstrom is not for everybody. Nordstrom is for a very particular customer and they target a very particular customer. And they know that if you cannot afford to walk through their doors, they're still in operation. They're still okay. They're still moving the needle where they need to move it. And so that's really important, is to be a specialist, Lisa said, and not a generalist. So get really, really particular about what it is that's the pain that you're solving, right? Because business is about solving a problem, not about making the money. The money is the results of your benefits package,
Yeah.
right? So solve, what problem do you solve? Who do you solve that problem for? And really get specific on your mission, because that's going to align you. Creativity, create. Can't even say the word. I'm so souped up. I'm so excited about what I've just learned. So I'm like, what? Plus, I got braces like a week ago, so it's not allowing me to speak as
Oh,
I did. But align yourself so you can creatively. There you go. Creatively expand your business and
that's right.
excel in your business based on what it is that you do. You
Yeah.
gotta love the shows alive, y'all. You get the raw, real person. There is no fluff and frou frou, as Lisa said on the Imperfect Action Show. We keep it real because we know what it takes to get to the next level. And so, and talking about getting these three things under wraps, right? We know the three things that we have to do to up the ante. What are some of the challenges that you faced in going through this journey that you had to really pivot through or say, you know what, I'm going to break this cycle so that I can really bring my coaching to the people who need it and who want it? What were some of the hard times and how did you work through those?
Oh, the hardest thing by far, Stizzo, is delaying decisions.
Ooh.
Delaying decisions. Listen, one of the requirements, not an option, it's not an elective, one of the requirements of being a leader is that you have to get good at making decisions. And the longer you delay making the decisions, the longer you delay the mission, but also the longer you delay your growth, your opportunity. Because, so example is someone listens to this today, watches this today, and they're like, oh man, she's right. I've been a generalist this whole time, thinking I can help everybody, and I really do need to be more specific, right? But you hear that and you still hesitate based out of fear. And so you delay niching down for another 3, 6, 12 months. What if you practice making decisions quicker? So the quicker you can make decisions, the quicker you can streamline things in your business. You can optimize things in your business. The longer I take to make decisions, the longer it puts off everything that I'm envisioning. So I would say when I became a good decision maker, that's when it changed. That's when it changed games. Like, get indecisiveness out of your spirit. And indecisiveness just comes from fear. It just comes from fear, right?
Yep.
And so that fear needs to be addressed, which means you probably need a good coach. You need a community. Stop trying to DIY everything, especially if this is new to you. For many of us, at least for me, I'm a first generation full-time entrepreneur in my business, right? And so all of this is new. I'm good at my craft, but being good at your craft is not the same thing as being good at business acumen. So I will say that will be the second thing, Stizzo. Is the first is delaying making decisions. And the second and last thing I'll say that was a challenge was recognizing that knowing your subject matter well is not equivalent to having business acumen and knowing how to run a business. So you can do the hair the best, do the best nails. You could be the best doctor, lawyer, accountant, basketball player. You can be the best musician, whatever. But when you decide to start a business, that does not mean you won't crash and burn if you do not invest in business acumen. Just
Mhm.
because you bake the best cakes in the town, it doesn't mean you're going to have a successful bakery if you don't know about marketing, if you don't know about sales, if you don't know about hiring, if you don't know about talent acquisition. You have to put as much energy into developing business acumen as you do into mastering your craft. Otherwise, let somebody else run the business and you just stay in your zone of genius. But you absolutely must develop business acumen as much as you develop your craft.
Yes, that's good. And I think we learned that and saw that the most during the panorama because we had people getting PPP loans and money left and right
Yeah.
and had this idea of what they thought they were good at, but had no business acumen in their back pocket or no mentorship and actually blew through money and blew through opportunity like nobody's business, right? Because one, they weren't mission driven, they were milestone driven on how can I flip this money, right? And then two, they were not business people or had the toolbox and the resources to say I can take this opportunity and really max out. So that's good. So get great, get phenomenal at making decisions and acting right away. And that, going back to the topic of this whole podcast, it's the Imperfect Action Show. It's like, how do you take imperfect action to just get things done? Even if you don't know the answer or you don't know exactly where this is going to lead you, there's something you're either going to learn from it or you're going to pivot forward from it. So either way, you don't lose.
That's
Either
right.
way, you come out better than you would have had you not made the decision to do it. So that was great. I love that. I love that. Wow, we're learning so much today. We gotta give it up for Lisa right now. It's like we could take this for a 3-hour podcast very easily. I already see it. And so, what are some of the common denominators in terms of skill set and excellence that you see with your top performers in your program?
Mm-hmm. Listen, A willingness to do personal development work. So my program, the Plant Protocol, I told you guys, I help plant-based vegans create their own plant-based coaching company. And so it is my belief, one of our principles inside of the Plant Protocol is that in order to have a successful plant-based coaching company, you must become a public figure, right? Which means you have to show up publicly, show your face, and state your perspective. So with that, sometimes comes a lot of insecurity. With that sometimes comes a lot of fear. With that comes a lot of like, oh, this is brand new, I don't know if I can do this. It comes with a lot of imposter syndrome. So what I believe is one thing that's going to really expedite and help move people quicker, and that one of the common traits I've seen among some of our most successful students is a willingness to do the personal development work required to become who you need to be a great coach. And this is for anyone in any industry. Listen, all of us come with stuff, limiting beliefs, past traumas, all of that stuff. And if you think that doesn't show up in your business, you got a rude awakening coming. So do the work in the dark privately so you can show up on TN publicly. The reason I'm here before you today, Stizzo, because this is unscripted, right? Y'all didn't send me no questions. I'm just going off the dome here, right? But I'm in it. I'm focused. I'm in the present moment. My energy is high. I feel amazing. I could absolutely go for another 2.5 hours. Why? And I'm confident in what I'm saying because I do the work privately to show up this way publicly. So the personal development work is everything from being in therapy if I need to be, doing mindfulness if I need to, consistent with my exercise, my eating, my sleep, right? Drinking water, right? Dissecting when limiting beliefs come up, like, Lisa, why are you feeling shame around this? Or why are you feeling embarrassment around this? Or why are you feeling insecurities around these things today? Like really, really dissecting the private thoughts that you have that keep you from showing up the way you want to. The personal development work cannot be disregarded, point blank, period. So my most successful students do the work in the dark so they can show up fire in the light.
I love that. I love that. And talk about alignment, because I know we got on a couple of minutes late and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you, Lisa, for being patient. I was literally on my live speaking about this exact very thing. So I say all that to say this is perfect timing, not for me, but also for you. And I know that you already know you're in your mission, you're in your purpose, like you're doing what you're supposed to do. I'm adding another coin to that bucket because that is perfect alignment, because I was literally just talking about that before we started this moment. And people have to be more mindful of showing up as their authentic selves and doing the work to not adopt the outside noise and not adopt the outside character, right? And really be in their purpose, be in their mission so that they can excel. And so I love that you said that's a common denominator, is to do the personal work, do the behind the scenes work, the work that people don't see, so that when you do turn the cameras on, you know you're on.
Yes.
And you're on as who you are and not someone else, or not trying to walk in someone else's two shoes. Man, that was good.
Yes.
That was good, Lisa. So tell me, we're coming up on the half an hour, y'all, the Imperfect Action Show. And I know if y'all feel anything like I feel, we want to keep Lisa here for 8 days and 18 hours. But listen, there's a way that you can get in tune and tap into Lisa if you know that you fit the mission and you are her exact who she's looking for. You're looking for her. Where can they find you and get more information about your program and what it is that you do with the Plant Protocol and everything else?
Yeah, the best place will be my website or social media. So, and they are both pretty much the same. My website is lisaangelsmith.com. lisaangelsmith.com is my website. You can see my programs, everything I offer. Subscribe to my podcast, all of that great stuff. And then my social media is at Lisa Angel Smith on Instagram, at Lisa Angel Smith on Facebook, and at Lisa A. Smith on LinkedIn. Like, yeah, it's just Lisa Angel Smith all around. Lisa Smith is such a common name that I use my middle name for everything too. So it's lisaangelsmith.com, and that's the best way to tap in and like come get this help. Like, what do we need to do? If you're just looking for plant-based gems, if you are interested in starting your own plant-based company, or if you just want more of this energy, come get it.
I love it. That was a great way to take us out, y'all. Listen, this was another episode of the Imperfect Action Show with Lisa Smith. Thank you for coming on and dropping all of those gems, giving all the information that we got today. The 3 underrated ways to be creative in your business, to take advantage and go to the next level. Make sure y'all go back, rewind this episode, write out all those gems. Note takers are money makers, and get in touch with Lisa and her team so that y'all can level up in this plant-based business. More health, more wealth, more success in 2023. Thank you so much, Lisa. We appreciate you. And we'll see y'all in another episode of the Imperfect Action Show.
Thank you so much for having me, Stizzo.
Of course.